For a second, let's travel back to the end of the 2019 season. Baseballs are flying out of parks at record levels, the Nationals are surprisingly in the playoffs, Jacob deGrom just wrapped up his second straight Cy Young winning campaign, and Mike Trout is on track to win his third career MVP. But, of course, we couldn't talk about this season without mentioning two names, Rookie of the Year Pete Alonso and AL MVP runner-up Alex Bregman. Alonso not only reset Aaron Judge's rookie record for home runs with a ridiculous 53, but also managed to tally 5.5 WAR on top of this, with a sky-high 147 OPS plus at the height of MLB's recent offensive peak. Bregman's year was arguably even better overall, with a league-leading 8.9 WAR and 119 walks to just 83 strikeouts, along with 41 home runs of his own and 1,015 OPS. These were two of the best players in baseball, full stop, and if they would have been free agents after this season, they would have totally gotten paid as such. But flash forward to the end of 2024, and things just aren't the same. Yet, as both of these guys navigate their current free agency, they seem to have a pretty big misconception of what their value currently is. Let's tackle each player separately, discussing their contract demands, recent value, and reasons why what they're asking for is not only outlandish, but just straight delusional, starting with Pete. The recently turned 30-year-old has never quite reached that insane peak he did during his rookie year, posting an over 140 OPS plus just once since, while never getting all too close to a 900 OPS. He has managed to hit over 40 home runs twice, albeit with his post-2019 high of 46 also coming in a year where he batted just .217, with a .318 OBP. 2024 was actually the worst season of his career to date, being his first full campaign with an under 800 OPS and sub-500 slugging, along with the career-low 34 home runs. So, yeah, his hitting seems to be trending in the wrong direction. But even this isn't his biggest flaw as a player. You see, since his near 6 wins above replacement total in his first year, Pete has never gotten over 4.5 again, with last year's total of just 2.6 being less than Isaac Paredes or Jock Peterson. Why is this? Well, on top of the fact that Pete's hitting has declined, his fielding and his base running have stayed at extremely unimpressive totals, with his -6 fielding run value per StatCast last year at first base being tied for third worst in all of Major League Baseball at that position, and his -4 runner runs being tied for second worst overall. Basically, the guy is pretty much a one-trick pony with his power, a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. without the ability to get on base at a high level or hit for average. So when I heard he was asking for a minimum of 6 years and $200 million, I was, needless to say, a bit confused. You see, if we use modern valuation totals for wins above replacement, we get an average of one WAR being worth about $8 million. This would mean that last year, Pete Alonso would have been worth about $20.8 million on the free agent market. Not a bad total, right? But over 6 years, this would be about $125 million, nowhere even close to 200. And that's of course anticipating he'll be able to keep up this level of production, which, based on his last 2 seasons trending a little down from his peak, certainly shouldn't be the assumption. If I were a GM, I don't think I personally would offer him anything beyond a 4 to 5 year deal at around $25 million AAV. And even then, I do think that money would probably be better allocated more effectively other ways. Moving on to Bregman, the situation is very similar, though for very different reasons. Bregman last year certainly had overall a better season than Pete, with a 4.1 BWAR, albeit with some sagging hitting numbers, including a 118 OPS plus, 768 OPS, and just 26 home runs, 15 down from his career high. Of course, when you couple this production with his 5 fielding runs at third base, you do have overall a pretty solid season. But along with those hitting numbers not really standing out, there were also some concerning patterns emerging underneath the surface. Check out his Baseball Savant percentile page. Not only was his batting run value in the 54th percentile at just 4, nearly average league-wide, but not a single of his numbers from his expected WOBA to his bat speed ranked above the 66th percentile. Sure, his numbers after this were still elite, but were more indicative overall of a slap hitter's profile versus a power-hitting corner infielder, which is what Bregman wants to be paid like according to his recent rumored identical to Pete asking price of $200 million. The years he's pushing for aren't yet known, but for a player who's going to be 31 before the 2025 season starts and who's seen his OPS plus, OPS, and on-base percentage drop every season since 2022, I think this personally might be an overpay regardless. His recent average of around 4.5 WAR over the last 3 years would have him designated as a player worth about $36 million a year, which is $15 million a year more than Alonso. However, in order to reach a contract of at least $200 million, a team would then have to sign him for a minimum of 6 seasons, which is certainly a troubling notion considering he's a player who is undisputedly seeing a gradual decline in his production. Another factor here is that a large portion of his value over the last 2 seasons has come from his defense, as he's posted an identical 1.0 DWAR in each of 2023 and 2024. Will he be able to keep up this output as his body ages, especially with his major league worst arm strength at third base of 80.7 miles per hour on average in tow? It seems unlikely. Add in the fact that a lot of his career offensive numbers are inflated because he's played in Minute Maid his whole career, which, according to StatCast, has added an estimated 38 home runs to his current total of 210, and you get what amounts to, in my opinion, an implied contract that seems almost doomed to fail. If I were a GM, I would probably want to go with the higher average annual value and a lower amount of committed seasons, not being willing to go beyond 3 or 4 years at $30 million apiece. If Pete and Alex aren't willing to budge on their demands, we could very well end up seeing another instance of a phenomena that's occurred multiple times in recent off-seasons. Big-name veterans being left unsigned by the time spring training comes around, which could be very detrimental to both of their career trajectories. I'm in no way rooting for this, but I do think that at their current asking levels, it feels almost inevitable as of now, unless some team is willing to drastically overpay. Now, I want to know what you guys think. Are Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman worth what they're asking for? And if so, would you like to see your favorite team sign them at this price? Or do you think they need to come down a little bit in their expectations? Let me know in the comments below.